Today I want to compare the thought of Daisaku Ikeda and Fethullah Gulen. And I think one of the first times I ever heard of the name Daisaku Ikeda was from Dean Carter, who is, as you know, the dean of the MLK International Chapel. So thank you, Dean Carter. Ikeda was born in 1928 and is still alive. He's probably going on 87 now. He was a philosopher. He wrote many books. In fact, he is said to have written 200 books. And if anyone says they read them all, I call them a liar. He's founder of numerous institutes, the Soka University in California, the Soka school system in Japan, Hong Kong, Singapore. He was third president of the organization known as Soka Gakkai, or Value Creating Society International. It has now 12 million members in over something like 163 countries. This movement is connected with Nichiren Shoshu. Nichiren, as you know, was a thinker in the Middle Ages. His dates are 1222 to 1282, and he had a particular affection and great love for the Lotus Sutra. And he used to like to meditate on the Lotus Sutra. The sutra, you know, is the words of the Buddha, the Japanese called Sakyamuni. And these words of the Buddha are sacred. And tradition has it that they were given to us by, at the great group recitation, when one of the Buddha's disciples got up and recited all that the Buddha taught. So there are three baskets in the Buddhist scriptures: the sutras, the Vinayas, which are the rules for monks and nuns, and the shastras, or commentaries. The founder of the Soka Gakkai movement, however, has a very difficult name. His name was Magaguchi Tsunesaburo, and he in the 1930s. He established this movement and was succeeded by a pupil of his, Toda Yosai, who influenced Ikeda very much. And Yosai reestablished the society with a missionary thrust called Shakubuku, which name is sort of like an onomatopoeia. It means break and subdue. And Shakubuku destroys falsehood and false truths and gives converts the benefits of Nichiren Buddhism. Followers of the value-creating society have three main practices. The first one, they believe in chanting the Daimoku, or the certain verses of the Lotus Sutra. They believe also, secondly, in deep meditation on the writings of Nichiren, because he was really a wisdom figure for them. And the third obligation they have, or the third practice, is teaching others the truth. What I want to talk about today, since I'm speaking about Gulen and Ikeda in terms of peaceful building, I want to mention some ways or paths to peace according to Ikeda. The first one he speaks of in one of his books is the path of self-mastery. He says we have within us almost two selves. There's this lowest self that tends to be egotistical, and me-centered, you know, whereas he also speaks about the greatest self, which is outgoing, altruistic, concerned with others, noticing what others need. The second path he speaks of is the path of community and that of nations. It involves fighting for social justice, maintaining ethical standards, and giving to others. Ikeda stresses soft power, what he calls soft power, over and against hard power or military might. So he wants to win others over on the basis of moral persuasion. In helping others, he says, at the same time we help ourselves. He also points out that, and we see this today because of globalization, that we have a totally interdependent world where what happens in one part of the world is known almost simultaneously elsewhere. Like right after 9/11, a few hours after, in Sweden, they turned on the TV sets and were watching the pictures of the tower going down. Not everyone believes ours is an interdependent world. Remember John Donne said that no man is an island? Well, I had a professor, Gervais Bayer, a Franciscan priest, who used to tell us every person is an island with at most a leaky rowboat, which I think is kind of funny. How do we promote world citizens committed to the shared welfare of humanity? That's a very large question. However, Ikeda gives us some pointers toward a solution. He points out that military might alone doesn't make a nation secure, as we saw, for example, in 9/11. In some senses, you know, security is an analogous term. I mean, if the President of the United States, I remember when John F. K. got killed in 1963, I was a student in Innsbruck, Austria at the time, we were totally shocked. But if a president can be shot at, like Reagan, etc., who is secure? I mean, we can't have total security. It's an impossibility. Ikeda says security can only be attained when nations highlight the importance of human rights, social development, and democracy. He also points out we need to implement the 5 principles of peace drawn up in 1954 by the first Afro-American conference in Indonesia. The first principle, I won't go through all of them, I don't have time today, is that countries must respect the territorial rights of other countries. And I think the United States did not do this in invading Iraq on the subterfuge that Saddam Hussein possessed thermonuclear weapons. I think we went in there mainly because they had oil reserves, but people may disagree with me about that. He also says there must be mutual non-aggression. And we see this aggression today in particular with ISIS as it tries to grab land in Iraq and Syria in order to establish a worldwide caliphate. And there's a whole history of that desire on the part of Muslims to establish one caliphate, and I understand that, but I don't think this is the way to go. Ikeda also, the third principle says, no intervention in the domestic politics or policies of another sovereign nation. Like today we see Saudi Arabia using fighter jets to bomb the heck out of the Yemeni people, where in Yemen today most of the people earn less than $2 a day, and the per capita income is something like $1,200. These people are kind of fresh out. Now, does it really make sense? Does Saudi Arabia really have to bomb them? You know, I don't understand this, but I'm not a politician, but it's upsetting to me. Just as it is upsetting to me that Russia is supporting the overthrow of the Crimean region in the sovereign nation of the Ukraine. And nobody can really do much about that without starting off World War III. Ikeda also speaks about the path of dialogue. And he says dialogue creates an open space where gradualists, like President Obama, believe in negotiating a treaty with Iran so they don't develop a nuclear weapon. And I think Obama's policy of negotiation and dialogue with Iran are entirely in line with the Buddhist perspective of Ikeda and the Value Creating Society. Is anybody here from that society today, the Soka Gakkai Society? Yes. I hope I'm on target with what I say, and in the question and answer period, you can put me on the spot if you want. Another point that Ikeda makes is that we must shed our parochialisms and try to become transnationalists. Ikeda also believes in disarmament. And here's a quote I have that he made about disarmament. He says, quote, "Our world continues to be threatened by more than 20,000 nuclear warheads. the capacity to kill or grievously injure all people living on planet Earth, and to destroy the global ecosystem many times over. We are impelled to ask, what is it exactly that is being protected by this unimaginable destructive capacity? Now I want to say something about Gulen, and the reason I can't spend as much time on him is several people in this conference will be speaking about him at length. Oh, I have 5 minutes? I think I can do it. Gulen's ideas on peace building are grounded in his notion of spirituality. For him, spirituality is the absolute master key to individual and global peace. Spirituality functions as the subtext of many of his writings and as the horizon within which many of his ideas find fertile soil. Gulen once wrote that if he were a mind reader, he would recommend that others should carefully study the Quran, pray on a regular basis, and study the signs of God, both in the universe and in other people. He endeavors to educate the young so that they are wise, spiritually grounded, and intent on serving others. For this reason, the movement inspired by Gulen bears the title the Hizmet movement. He challenges his followers to live a balanced life between their material and spiritual needs and values. And in his book, Pearls of Wisdom, he writes, quote, "Judge your worth in the Creator's sight by how much space he occupies in your heart, and your worth in people's eyes by how you treat them." According to Gulen, then, actions are the outward manifestation of one's inner orientation to God. What counts is what one does toward one's neighbor, rather than what one says. In other words, he's asking us to walk the walk instead of talk the talk. There are 4 words that summarize Gulen's ideas on peace building. They are forgiveness, tolerance, dialogue, and love. He believes that the greatest gift parents can give their children is, quote, to teach them how to forgive and be tolerant. He has a wide notion of tolerance. There are 4 or 5 words in Turkish for tolerance, which I don't have time to go into right now. But the word tolerance, as used by him, is hoşgörü. I hope I pronounced that right. And that means having goodwill toward others, accepting others who disagree with us, and embracing diversity. And Gulen would agree with the former Archbishop of Recife, Hilda Camara, who said, "If you disagree with me, you have something to give me." Toleration and dialogue go hand in hand for Gulen. He calls them the 2 roses of the Emerald Hills, a reference to the Emerald Hills, a region at Sapanaya, about a 45-minute ride from Istanbul, noted for its beautiful lake and mineral water. Dialogue creates strong bonds among the dialogue partners. It's an activity that has as its axis human persons with all their strengths and weaknesses. Dialogue allows us to open up to each other in a loving and caring way. For Gulen, dialogue does not depend on us alone. The help of God is needed to allow dialogue to fully blossom. Imagine a world if our world leaders possessed true spiritual love, says Gulen. This would eliminate a so-called clash of civilization. Sam Huntington, who wrote a book on the clash of civilizations, looks at the world as a political scientist. Gulen, on the contrary, sees the world through the eyes of his Islamic faith. For Gulen, faith is like a glass of water, without color, without odor, without taste. Yet, when held up to the light of day, it's a prism that reflects and captures all the beauty, mystery, and wonder in the entire universe. Thank you.